Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Baby Dyce, and I'm back at it like a crack addict with another reaction video. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I got immigration, world poverty, and gumballs requested by the homie Andrew. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you, Andrew, for requesting this. I have no idea what I'm getting into. I don't know what this is. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know nothing about nothing. So, he just told me to type this in, so I did, and I'm about to go ahead and check it out. Shout out to you new subscribers. If you're new here, you know what I'm saying? Click that button, man. Hit that subscribe button, man. It's nothing but a button and it costs you nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to go ahead and dive on to this video. Let's go ahead.
Some people say that mass immigration into the United States can help reduce world poverty. Is that true? Well, no, it's not. And let me show you why. This gumball represents the 1 million legal immigrants that the United States has taken every year on average since 1990. Now, who in the world deserves our humanitarian compassion? The World Bank has one measure of the desperately poor of the world. They make less than $2 a day.
Damn.
How many people make less than $2 a day in the world? Well, let's start with Africa. In Africa alone, there are 650 million people who make less than $2 a day. 650 million. And in India, another 890 million people, desperately poor. China adds another 480 million people, making less than $2 a day. And unfortunately, the rest of Asia has a heartbreaking 810 million people who the World Bank says make less than $2 a day. And finally, there's 105 million of Latin America's population that are desperately poor. All told, the World Bank says there are 3 billion people in the world. 3 billion people who are desperately poor, making less than $2 a day. That's 3,000 gumballs. And every year, we take 1 million and suggest that we've somehow made a humanitarian difference. Of course, we don't pull our immigrants from these desperately poor populations, do we? These people are too poor, too sick, too disconnected to make it here as immigrants. We tend to pull our immigrants out of the better off poor of the world. And Mexico tends to define the type of immigrant that we bring here because the plurality of people come from Mexico. And Mexico is poor. How many people in the world live in countries that have average incomes lower than that of Mexico? And the World Bank tells us that that number is these 3 billion plus another 2.6 billion people. 5.6 billion people in the world who live in countries with average incomes below that of Mexico. That's 5,600 gumballs. And so what is it that the elites are telling us? They're telling us that when we take this 1 million immigrants, that we somehow or another are tackling world poverty. And we have to do it regardless of the effect on our unemployed, the working poor, the most vulnerable members of our society, regardless of the effect on our natural resources. Even if we went by the most radical proposals in Washington, which are to actually double our immigration to 2 million a year, which would totally overwhelm our physical, natural, and social infrastructures, we couldn't make a noticeable difference. And we may be really hurting the impoverished people of the world because the million that we do take are among the most energetic, often the better educated, certainly the most dissatisfied people that if they did not immigrate would be the agents for change to improve the lot of all the people in these countries. The true heroes in the global humanitarian field are the people in these countries who have the wherewithal to immigrate to another country, but instead stay in their countries to apply their skills to help their fellow countrymen. Unfortunately, our immigration system tends to entice these very type of people to abandon their countrymen. The impossibility of making even a dent is actually worse than it looks here. Because last year, when we took 1 million immigrants, these countries added, births over deaths, 80 million more people into the impoverished population. And this year, Congress is bringing in 1 million legal immigrants. And this year, according to the United Nations, these countries are expected to add another 80 million people. And next year, you can be quite sure that Congress, unless stopped by the American voters, will bring in another 1 million immigrants. And these countries, unfortunately, will be adding another 80 million people into these impoverished nations. We could take 5 million a year, but we'd never get ahead of what's happening in these countries. Not in this century. Don't you see? Immigration can never be an effective or significant way to deal with the suffering people of the world. They have to be helped where they live. 99.9% of them will never be able to immigrate to a rich country. There's no hope for that. They have to bloom where they're planted. The only place that 99.9% of these people can be helped is where they live. Let's help them there.
I mean, that's a fact. Like, I don't know, like, I don't really have too much to say about that. I mean, I feel like he said it all, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything I could say, he already said. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if, you know, the person, Andrew, if you wanted to see if I agree or disagree with this, I agree. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's hard to, you know, solve said problems. I'm not saying stop helping, you know what I'm saying? Definitely help if you can, you know what I'm saying? But I understand what he's saying, like how it's like, yeah, that little bit, it's not even adding up. It don't even, like, it almost doesn't matter. But, you know, that's if you're looking at numbers, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at it like a, you know how they say, if you do one good deed a day, like, you know what I'm saying? If you do one good deed, if you do one good deed a day, are you really making any difference? Not necessarily, but you are in that person's life. You dig what I'm saying? So if you take $1 million, yes, there's billions and trillions of people who need help, no doubt. But that little bit that you did kind of help out, it still kind of helps. So I still see that as necessary. But at the end of the day, he's talking about, you know, the broader scale of things, you know, which I understand and I agree with. Like, yeah, it's like it's not really doing nothing. Like, there's no way to really do it that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? So he's trying to find a different way of, you know, helping people. I get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And in which case, hey, I agree with that. But you know, I don't know, man. We all got problems, man. Everywhere in the world got problems. You know what I'm saying? America got problems. Africa got problems. Asia got problems. You know what I'm saying? India got, like, it's all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Every place got problems of their own kind. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, America really, like, you know, we kind of bullies. Like, you know what I'm saying? We come through, we mob, and we do what we do, try to, you know, look out for us as much as we can and, you know, take from wherever, you know what I'm saying? And I'm getting way off a point here. Let me backtrack a little bit. Realistically, right? America, we like the big brother who got everything, you know what I'm saying? And we just kind of, we see everybody else, they might need a little bit of help, and we help them out a little bit. You dig what I'm saying? But in return, we want way more in return than what we actually gave. You dig what I'm saying? Because we look out for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, you know, America's the greatest country there is. You know what I'm saying? As we say anyway. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, there are a lot of worse off people and a lot of worse off countries that, you know, kind of need help or definitely need help. You know what I'm saying? But we ain't going to do that, are we? So, you know, it's something interesting to speculate on, something to think about. And, like, you know, we may know the solution to the problem. We may know what we can do or what we could do differently. But are we going to do it? Probably not. You know, so it's like, I take it as like a fun fact. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a fun fact for real, but, you know, it's just a fact. It's just something you just take in. It's just like, okay, yeah, like that's how it is, really. You know? Unless everybody just decides right now to start, you know, helping each other out. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to happen. It's just going to be what it is. And it is what it is. And it's fucked up. It's messed up. But it is what it is, man. Anyway, shout out to Andrew for requesting that, man. I appreciate you. I know I was rambling on a little bit. It kind of sounded like I was talking in circles. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell is you even talking about? But, like, nah, because... Anyway, it's your boy, Baby Dyce. I'm up out of here early, man. Can't talk about this too long. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's too deep. I'm out of here, man, early.